Hey everybody, welcome back to Your Free TV. It is Tuesday, November 18th, 2025. So glad to be back with you here on the channel. Sorry for the hiatus. We had major hack attack going on, and it is solved, hopefully. And so hopefully this video will go off without a hitch. And so I want to start by saying thank you to people like Annie. Thank you so much. Thank you to Cool Drummer Chick. Thank you to Tom and Ginny. Your donations actually helped to resolve this. So I'm so happy for, that you did that. And thank you to everybody supporting monthly. You're the bedrock of this channel. And I thank you so much. And so I'll jump in with my disclaimer. This video is for entertainment purposes only. It is protected by the United States Constitution protecting free speech, as well as the Sullivan Act of reporting. It is not intended to bully or harass anyone, never to incite violence, hatred, or lawlessness of any kind. It doesn't give legal, medical, or financial advice, and therefore the disclaimers in the description below. And so we'll just jump in with the news. What a day. What a week. It's just been off the charts, and there's so much going on here with bin Salman coming to the White House after 7 years not being here, meeting with Trump in the White House, meeting with everyone at dinner tonight, and everything going on around that is juxtaposed, of course, to the Epstein files, going through the House almost unanimously, now going to the Senate. And the interconnections, okay, of all these things, I think is what is paramount, because I think down this giant rabbit hole of Epstein, as disgusting as it is, all of it, the control network that they set up through Epstein, and just the colossal amount of control going into that with the deep state globalists, international planned destruction of the USA. I think what it gets down to, down in this rabbit hole is 9/11, okay, and is actually coming to an understanding and the potential exposure of 9/11 being an inside-outside planned job, and that and bin Salman being the reformation of Saudi Arabia is part of all of this. And I think the Epstein files coming out, Trump getting behind them now in this moment, is all interconnected to this, okay? And so we're going to jump in here, and I'm going to just put on the glasses and get into the news, okay? So I'll just put this out there first, and I think it's important to understand as we look at Epstein, and we look at the files and whatever, blah blah blah. Anna Polina Luna coming out very clearly today, and she's behind a lot of great work. Big ups to Anna Polina Luna, but basically, we've seen that the Clintons were supposed to show up yesterday for their depositions to do with the Epstein files, and they have a no-show. They're refusing to come and do depositions. And so that's going down while this huge network is going to be exposed to the world. If, as MTG says, if the Senate passes the discharge, will the FBI, the DOJ, the intelligence actually release anything? That is where we sit, but it is a huge leverage moment, and it is quite massive. And basically what Anna Polina Luna had to say is that, hey, I knew last February, high intel, know that the FBI of the Biden administration was gutting the Epstein files, was totally tampering and destroying the evidence. We all saw that with the Southern District of New York, yada, yada, on. And that this is across lines of parties or anything, cabal, that this is what this is. And she basically came out and said, Anna Polina Luna today from the Capitol, that what she does know is that in 2008, when Epstein was on house arrest, etc., and nights in the prison there, sleeping in the jail, there in Palm Beach, that basically Epstein communicated at that time with intelligence. What she's found out is that it was Mossad, Israel intelligence, a supposed Russia connected intelligence. I'm thinking oligarchs, okay, and Iranian intelligence. All right, and so this all gets into the continuation from the Clintons to it starts with George H.W. Bush, goes in through the Clintons, in through George W., and then taking up the mantle with Obama, and this all getting into the planned, in my for entertainment purposes only, guesstimation, the situation of the creation of 9/11 so that they could escalate the Islamic warfare on the West, bring in the huge side of the Muslim Brotherhood, because remember, Prince Alawid, uh, who thought he would be king, right, was a huge Muslim Brotherhood guy, and he's the one that paid for Obama's education at Harvard, super connected there with Obama, and of course, super connected with everything 9/11, the training of the pilots, all of this, yada, yada, super connected right up through George H.W., into Clinton's, into George W., and this gets into funding, it gets into the Epstein files, because a portion of this, and I think it's one of the reasons that Trump has been guarding this information, is to do with the fact that Saudis, major Saudis, during the time of Prince Alawid having a lot of control and power, you have a huge amounts of Saudis, okay, being involved in this Epstein roll-up, this Epstein Mossad, whatever, capture. But not even. They're all in it together, folks. They're all in it together. So when bin Salman was able to take over, again, as the story goes that I've been following, the whole Las Vegas attack that happened with the murder of all those people the country western concert there in Las Vegas, when there was huge shootouts all over Las Vegas, and they focused on MGM and everything going on there. But that was an attempted assassination on Mohammed bin Salman, right? There's whispers that have always been talked about that Trump had a secret meeting with him there, and there was a huge assassination attempt, maybe on both of them. But what happened after that was you had bin Salman with the Saudi military and secret police going and arresting something like 20,000 people. Like, it was an enormous number of people in Saudi Arabia, and all the princes, and they have huge families, and rolling them all up into the Ritz-Carlton in Riyadh, and basically became a huge interrogation hotel, where they were all basically, I think a lot of them, summarily executed. So when you see Trump in the Oval Office today with bin Salman, and one of the first questions, of course, is, what about Khashoggi and the slaughter of Khashoggi? And Trump says, oh, what an awful question. Why would you bring that up, et cetera, et cetera. And basically, this all gets into this same line of events. And when we get to Adnan Khashoggi, we have, of course, Mike Benz coming out, as he always does, the great, at Mike Benz Cyber, great details on this. He was talking about how with the Likud Labor Party under Netanyahu, etc., we have HRC, Bill Clinton, no shows at the Capitol for their depositions, right? With Ehud Barak, being connected so deeply here with Epstein in the 90s, that we get in the 1990s the State Department of the United States renting out a property to Epstein, okay, in Palm Beach, Florida. And I believe this was a property that had been seized from an Iranian official. And so we get this situation again with Adnan Khashoggi, again, back down to George H.W. Bush and beyond, when the creation of, we're going to create this Islamic invasion across the world, not the bin Salman version, where he's been doing massive reforms. Do I want to live in Saudi Arabia? No. But changing the way things go for the future, and really wanting there to be a stop of the Muslim invasion of the West, saying these are, this is bad. We want an end to jihad against the West. And that is where him and Trump are uniting. And and it might be one of the only hopes that we have to actually deal with what's going on here with this huge AI revolution. And of course, the Saudis now coming in, they're going to buy the F-35 fighter jets, which is the same that Israel is buying. So Trump is saying Saudi Arabia is going to be as well armed as Israel. And of course, bin Salman is saying we want there to be a two-state solution with Israel, and for that to be a controlled situation. And, you know, it's a little dodgy, I think very dodgy, to have Turkey being the ones, you know, providing on the ground security forces there, but that's for another day. So very interesting to watch all of this as we, you know, it is just, you know, the construction of 9/11, I believe, is at the heart of this, and that I believe that the Epstein files will reveal so much more depth and detail that could come out depending how far back they can go down the hole. So we'll see. You know, we've got Howard Lutnick, the really awful, incompetent Commerce Secretary. When people are super complaining, oh, why is Trump going around the world trying to raise money? You know, oh, you know, why are you focused on tariffs? As if our economy wasn't in the complete and total tanker. And so you have Saudi Arabia increasing their investment from $600 billion to $1 trillion now. And yes, mostly it's into AI and into the F-35s and military, but it's also into other domestic projects, and I believe some startup to do with Saudi Arabia, to do with technology. So yeah, we got to keep our eyes on all of it. But I think it's very important to understand that Lutnick, who actually has the reins of the commerce, you know, he's the commerce secretary, and he should be calling on every single corporation in America now that Trump has brought with bin Salman's cooperation, brought the price of oil and gas so low that the corporations have no excuse now for keeping these false inflated price for our domestic goods so high. And that is what's going on, is we don't have pressure on the big stores to bring down the prices when they're making huge profit margins now that the energy is cheaper, the cost of production is so much cheaper. And so what do we have with Lutnick? Lutnick. Of course, we have this sort of, you know, the Cantor Fitzgerald situation of him on 9/11, where and he also happened to be the next door neighbor of Epstein, just saying. But on 9/11, at Cantor Fitzgerald, he conveniently wasn't there driving his kids to school that one day. And the World Trade Center went down, and you know, the attack happened. He magically wasn't there, but hundreds of people from Cantor Fitzgerald perished in that assault, in that attack. And afterwards, he refused to actually pay their health benefits, the insurance to the families of those people, or the funeral costs, etc., until he was finally basically forced to do so judicially. And so that's who we're dealing with Howard Lutnick, who obviously planted in there, and hopefully Trump will move him along very soon. And, you know, the Brady bonds, the destruction of the evidence of that whole Ponzi scheme that came up from George H.W. Onward, all of this. And so it's all a giant puzzle that's coming to fruition for people to understand that Trump is fighting the globalist, you know, European-centered situation, and also trying to maintain how the U.S. is going to create an economy that we can survive at this time. And so, very interesting situation. We'll dip back into here. And of course, Trump was calling out Larry Summers straight from the Oval Office today, and this is a huge development, right? For Trump to openly say, and Reid Hoffman and Andrew Weissman calling them out by name, sitting next to bin Salman, because we have people like Patrick Byrne coming out and saying, hey, you know, we already know that the lawfare central control was controlling at least 20 Democratic AGs that were all Soros funded, and they had this centralized, you know, money hub. that is called States United Democracy Center, States United Democracy Center, that they've recently uncovered that the people, Weissman et al., all Soros funded, and of course he funded these 20 AGs, Democratic attorneys general, getting in the first place. That, and we've seen the total destruction of our legal system ever since. But the States United Democracy Center basically hired, you know, put in the AGs, but then they were literally beholden to them, and they just did exactly as they were told to do across the country. And of course, so much of it to do with the Trump cases, all of it, J6, everything. And they have all the communications, and this is part of everything that's breaking. And so, there's call for immediate investigation of these people. You're seeing, I can't remember which, I believe it was I don't think it was a senator, I think it was a House member, and I can't remember his name, calling for immediate investigation into this, and that's very exciting. Meanwhile, Larry Summers is supposedly gone dark. He's like in hiding because he's called out so intensely in these emails from Epstein, and all of them exonerate Trump. There's no Trump there at all. And it's all about these people's super intense interconnections. And so Larry Summers, so big at the head of the Harvard with the endowment, he was, I believe, Treasury Secretary to Bill Clinton, right? And Larry Summers, he also now is the head of the board of directors of OpenAI, right? And that was because they used this kind of Epstein type leverage when OpenAI voted out Sam Altman, wanted him gone, right? And don't we have Cloudflare going down today again? Even the War Room, I tried to check out a little bit of the afternoon show to see, did I miss anything? I want to include. It looks like War Room was down today. Tried on several different devices, couldn't get in there. But Cloudflare went down today, and that's ChatGPT, OpenAI, all kinds of stuff connected there. So that's an interesting thing that we see Cloudflare go down the same time again as these new Epstein emails come out, and Larry Summers hugely implicated. And what I'm bringing up about the whole OpenAI and ChatGPT, just shot across the bow going down, and the bringing in of Summers again, I'm sure using tons of this blackmail leverage to get back in. Now he's the chairman of the board there, and this is Sam Altman. It came out during my absence. This whole situation of him with, is it his husband or his significant other dude who is the co-founder of Coinbase, and I don't have his name in front of me. Maybe I'll get to it later. Who were starting this whole, they wanted to start this company secretly to make designer babies, to literally create in vitro fertilization, which is, one of Trump's big things, and maha, and just more babies through in vitro, right? And that Sam Altman and his husband or whatever from Coinbase, the co-founder, Coinbase is, of course, they do Bitcoin and all the crypto and everything. And they've been secretly, which is completely illegal, it's completely illegal to create designer GMO babies, okay? Genetically altered babies. You have that one guy from China who's in prison for creating a baby that was, I believe, CRISPR'd to, so they couldn't get HIV or something like this. Well, what Altman and his husband are doing are, they want to basically design the whole thing, it's the whole thing through in vitro, and we can do the height, the attributes, the smarts, all of it. And so that creepy, disgusting, awful stuff. And so, isn't that kind of cause for arrest right there? Isn't that like we're hauling you in because you're literally saying out loud that you're going to create designer babies and that you've been secretly planning this company around it? Yeah, I'd say so. And so while all this is going down, and we have the Venezuela situation popping off, and everybody's like, "Oh, Trump, we have so much here going on in the U.S. What are you doing about Venezuela? But America first. Why aren't you putting people away and everything?" And just all the crazy about the social media ridiculousness to do with MAGA infighting, and as if that's a good thing to do. Ridiculous and awful. But what we have here with Venezuela is, of course, that is the steal of the 2020 election. It's exactly what people should be getting behind, as we have all of the oligarch players in here, all of the deep state, Biden, the West exec, the Blinkens, Mayorkas, all of these people in bed with Maduro's regime, designed this way for the steal, okay, the steal of the 2020 election. There are whistleblowers who are under oath, who are Venezuelan defectors that are testifying, okay, with intelligence, I believe, connected to Tulsi Gabbard, that about the Smartmatic steal and the whole situation of Venezuela. Remember, it was the Venezuelan nationals who came and instructed everybody in all the blue states about how to use the Smartmatic, and they ran the machines basically, and then they have the Serbian servers and et cetera and all of this, and so that's one element of it. And then the whole plan that Trump always says, they brought in their criminals, their crazy criminal, just murderers, and that's 100% true with Tren de Aragua, et cetera. And the what's that? What's their Cartel of the Suns out of Venezuela, trying to get to the heart of this hydra that had to do with everything with creating this army in the USA to be part of the overthrow of America. And so Trump is going after that. And I think that's a fantastic thing. The people of Venezuela are completely screwed, okay? Past the starvation, past the mass inflation, but beyond everything. Just we have this situation of Venezuela as attack. It's an act of war on our country that stole the election in 2020 with our deep state traitors, and we've been dealing with the aftermath ever since. And in 4 years, the near destruction of our country. And so, very important that this does play out. And what Patrick Byrne had to say today, I'll link the video below, is that this also gets into finding out about massive like payments of like $50 million a pop to different players in on the left in the United States, and I'm sure on the right too, that had to do with either NGOs or popular figures, celebrities, etc., to be bribed for the steal, etc. And so this is all coming out, right? And the situation here is if Trump gives into the CIA deep state that's still there, and of course we know Ratcliffe is completely captured, well, for entertainment purposes only. Perhaps there's some shifting there, but it doesn't seem like it, because bought and groomed and paid for by the APAC. And so we get what they wanted to bring in a sort of cartel light situation. Yes, we'll get rid of Maduro. He's been refused, okay, asylum or safety in Russia, China, or Iran. Okay, so none of them want him, but apparently they found some sunny place somewhere where he and his minions can go and get the heck out. Trump already refused his bribes on rare earths and gold, and will do anything, just, let the CIA plan, go down. Trump's like, no, I'm not going to have cartel light. I'm not going to just have the CIA bring in this, basically, who is his head of military intelligence, General Sabine, is who they want to replace him with, instead of course, I think it was Gonzalez who really won the election, and it was like 80% to 20, and for some reason, for some amazing reason, their steal malfunctioned, and they weren't able to capture the numbers because it was so overwhelmingly, anti-Maduro, kind of like what happened with Trump in this election. It was unriggable because of the overwhelming the overwhelming force of the people against the regime. And so you could have somebody like Machado come in and be up for election, or Gonzalez put in, have open, fair elections, and that's what Trump is going for. So I think it's fantastic, and the CIA doesn't want that to happen, because you get a free bird like Machado in there who can reveal it all, reveal what happened with Smartmatic, reveal what happened with Tren de Aragua, planned assault on America, plus all the rest of them. And so they've been planning, according to Patrick Byrne, there had been some sort of Bay of Pigs style attack planned that was going to sort of hobble out any larger change in Venezuela, try to create a huge backlash against the U.S., where regime change agents, awful, against Venezuela. But that was stopped. And I guess a lot of people are being removed who have been involved in all of that. So very interesting to watch all of this play out, and you see the interconnection of it all. You see the interconnection of all. And of course, there's Mexico, and we're seeing all of these riots going down there, and right up trying to get into the president's building, all of it huge going on in Mexico. And this is, of course, after that mayor from Michoacan area, who was calling out Scheinbaum and the cartels, saying we need protection, we need Scheinbaum to go against the cartels. And of course, he was murdered by the cartel, and they tried to put it on a kid, a 17-year-old boy, was confirmed as the perpetrator of the deadly shooting of Carlos Manzo, the mayor of the Mexican city of Uruapan, whatever it's called, during a public event in the state of Michoacan over the weekend. Right, that was quite a while ago now, a couple of weeks ago. It feels like forever. But what Manzo, the mayor, was calling out here was huge, because he was talking about the cartel. So Michoacan's very verdant area of growing lots of vegetables, and a lot of the imports that shifted from the USA, and all the Mexican crap that when you go to buy an avocado, it's all practically white inside. You go buy your broccoli and it's all white, it's barely green. And it's all filled with chemicals and covered with garbage. And so anyway, one of the things Monzo was on about was that the avocado industry in Mexico is completely run by the cartels. And so they've taken all of the produce industry out of Mexico over. And this is all part of it. This gets into, it's like, why is Trump running around dealing with other countries? Because why are things so expensive and disgusting and awful, and our food has just degraded by 50%, and even you buy organic, it's just as disgusting, and you get Bill Gates's A peel on everything, even on organic produce. It doesn't even have to be announced. I believe that the one chain health food store that I know that is totally has a vow that they won't sell anything with A peel, this toxic crap that Bill Gates funded to put on your organic vegetables, and your berries especially, hugely. A peel won't be sold at Natural Grocers, that chain called Natural Grocer. So you might want to buy your veggies there if you can. And so all very interesting, really important stuff, all interwoven here, all coming to a huge head, right? And this is all while still we've got, of course, the Fed chair switch coming up. A lot of people want Judy Shelton in there. She's the real gold hound, really wants to go back to the gold standard, just go full bore against the Federal Reserve Cartel of Europe. That would be fantastic. But I want to segue here into Charlie Kirk for a moment, because as usual, Candace Owens is kicking it out of the park with her research, and I think that I think this all is interconnected. I really do, and I think it gets down to very much, I'll just throw this in there. um, one of Charlie Kirk's inquisitors there in Long Island, when he got the struggle session, in uh, was it in August or was it July? You know, very soon before he was murdered, Bill Ackman, right, the billionaire, who's now trying to make a move for Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. Okay, so this is really bad. He's trying to put a proposal, and that's why people like Lutnick need to go. And hopefully, we know the HUD director seems really solid. He's the one who called for daily prayer for the country. I always link the video below of him calling for the daily prayer for Americans to pray for this country, Christians to pray for this country. And but Bill Ackman is trying to force himself into our real estate that's connected to our government, right? Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac have been under government conservatorship after George W. Bush and cahoots with Bahama, all of them, the Great Short and the beginning of the neo-feudalism total takeover of BlackRock and Blackstone to buy up all the real estate. And now Bill Ackman wants to come in with a dandy new idea to privatize Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae. So I'm going to follow that and see what's going on. Of course, everybody's up in arms saying, no, this is just going to make the mortgage situation worse, make the payments awful. And this is just him squirreling in, and it's not what we need. It's not what we need. So we'll continue to watch that as it develops. And so I wanted to look at this Charlie Kirk stuff for a second with Candace Owens, because she's uncovered amazing stuff. She's putting out the license plate numbers of these Egyptians that through Duncan Aviation were rented these rental cars, like just full on doing it, and it's fantastic. But one of the things that I think is so super critical, and that what's come out, is that she showcased a YouTube video by this man who goes by Wolves in Finance, and he talks about how Turning Point USA appeared to have missed their tax filing deadline this year for the first time. They had gone for an extension back in April, and I believe that went through November 15th. And as of the time he had put this video out, which was prior to November 15th, because a lot of people thought it was October 15th for the late filing this year, but apparently it was November 15th. Who knew? So extensions weren't due till the 15th. Now it's the 18th, but still on the IRS website logs where they go and track this information, the filing of multiple, several 990 forms are still missing, were not filed. And this came even after Baker Tilly, the accountant for the accountant firm that for TPUSA had reported saying they do an audit every year, and that this year they reported a flawless audit for 2024, and he signed this prior to November 15th, but apparently still not yet any situation here to update. Did they make a filing? And what's curious here and very important is we see $70 million that have come into TPUSA since Charlie Kirk was murdered on September 10th. And you get this situation of there being a 33% reduction in employees during this last period. But we have, of course, Charlie Kirk calling for a Doge forensic accounting on money that he felt was going in and out very rapidly and untraceable. And this gets into this whole money laundering situation. And what Wolves in Finance had to say is that with these several 990 forms missing, these had to do with you have Turning Point USA was the only one that went in on time before this, but then you have Turning Point Endowment. Okay, that's the endowment where they invest all that money to make money in the stock market, and Turning Point Action, and then America's Turning Point. Okay, and then there's another one, Turning Point Merch. So these are all the companies. And basically that you're seeing that America's Turning Point seems to be this kind of random, strange part of the company that it just kept growing larger, and there's no account of the money. They're saying that it went to wages and employment, but his concern is that did money go? This kept growing in funds, but the money they said went to people, to employees, and the payroll, but that this particular shell company, America's Turning Point, has no employees. Okay, and he was basically saying that the 990 forms being missing and never being filed is just a huge coinky dink here with the murder of Charlie Kirk. And he points out that one thing he could at least find out was that $8.6 million definitely isn't accounted for anywhere. $8.6 million. And this is to do again with this America's Turning Point shell company. And that he also was talking about the patterns of how it looks so much like that there was an increasing amount of money that came through donations that people made to Turning Point USA, that you think it's going to go to the next event, for organizing chapters across the country, for voting drives, for all of this kind of stuff, but instead that an increasing amount kept going to the endowment, okay, to invest in the stock market. So I think this is all a big deal, very, very important, and we're going to keep following it. Okay, there's a lot more besides, but I'll link that video below if you want to check it out, and we'll just go from there. Okay, and so I also wanted to cover, this has been coming out again, Anna Paulina Luna. She's busy, but one thing she's been highlighting recently is, and this is a horrible, preface it with, this is horrible, get ready. But it's the same people, the same situation. Remember Sarajevo, right? And the whole situation there from 1992 to 94, and Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton, and this whole situation with, of course, the total destruction in Sarajevo. And what we have here coming out with Anna Paulina Luna, and I'll link a great summary video of it below, is that you have this man, Eden Subasic, who came out as a whistleblower, who had talked to Serbian prisoners of war, and they've been covering this in Italy for quite a while here, to do with going after the murderers of people in this thing called war safaris. Okay, and this is, we've seen all these recent movies are coming out where it's like, oh, the wicked, the super elites, have released, people they kidnapped on their land, and they go on these hunting sprees, and that's true, that's real, and disgusting and awful. But literally in the Sarajevo situation between 92 and 94, this has come out very, very clearly that you had wealthy elites from, at least we know, Italy, America, Canada, and I believe, oligarchs out of Russia, the super elites basically paying to be part of these war safaris, where they went in kind of rat race style, that movie Rat Race from like a million years ago, where they were betting on points for literally murdering people. Okay, that's the summary of that. But basically, they would go by helicopter into Sarajevo, and they would get into sniper nests, etc. They would pay money to be in this competition with each other for slaughtering innocent people, shooting them dead, and that and they basically, children got the highest points, and it was this point system. So you'd go for families, especially with children, and that's the sickness of the kind of people we're dealing with. And that's what I'm trying to kind of point out, is that we get this situation of this level of depravity, and the level of depravity that is at the heart of the Epstein disgustingness, right? Bill Barr with his dad, writing Space Relations, where he groomed his son, and Epstein, his obsession was, transhumanism. In the future, we get this Space Relations, where there is a whole society of aliens that come and teach Earthlings how to be part of this basically intergalactic sex trafficking operation. Okay, preying on children. This is the sickness. Okay, Sam Altman, his husband, let's make genetically created babies. Epstein, Zora Ranch, the same thing. Let's get your genetics. Let's farm these babies for their parts, etc. And I'm sorry to be disgusting and gross, but this is the reality of it. Okay, the reality of Bill Gates, who, big bestie with Epstein. Him just the other day, his estate manager, and I believe this is the Seattle massive mansion of Bill Gates, that the man who runs that whole estate, I bet for entertainment purposes only, took the fall basically for having massive amounts of child rape videos on his computer at Bill Gates' mansion. And he ends up getting like 90 days, okay, in prison, 90 days, 6,000, okay, of these files. And people often don't know that Bill Gates also has a huge compound in the San Juan Islands, just outside Seattle, San Juan Islands. There's an island called Lopez Island, and he has a huge compound there that is totally off limits, and it's totally quiet. It's a quiet island. Nobody talks about it. And you're not allowed to go on the street. It's all super, super, it's it's an island off of Lopez Island. It's like connected with a little spit, okay, to the main Lopez Island, which is tiny. And so we wonder, there's another island, okay, of the pedo person that is Bill Gates, the mass murderer for entertainment purposes only, who wants to and has committed genocide against the children of the world and all of us. So this is who we're dealing with. That's the level of it all. So, any who's who what's. It's not cheery because this is reality. And what's reality is trying to fight a giant hydra, okay? Be the president of the United States with all of this on your shoulders, try to get money for America to not just die because our economy is teetering on the edge of collapse, and to bring in $20 trillion and to tariff all the people who have been stealing from us forever, for decades and decades, prior to World War II, but after World War II on super steroids, stealing everything from the Western Christian civilization based upon hard work and meritocracy. The only people that get shit done, right? Compared to Europe, who does nothing. No offense to Europeans, but and there are huge uprisings going on in Europe right now too. Huge uprisings of resistance against the globalists there. Massive, awesome. But what I'm talking about is culturally, the reason America is such a threat, of course, is because of our Constitution, but it's because of the ethos of meritocracy and working and having values, okay, about what you do versus other societies. I'll just throw India out there. I'll throw the Muslims out there. I'll throw the globalist elite, rather than just using manipulation and control to steal other people's stuff. Okay, and get your leg up against them by manipulation and smiling while you're stealing everything out of their pockets. That's the difference. Okay, it's why America is the huge threat, and that's why we need to understand that this is a massive job. And so I think we should all stop complaining about Trump trying to bring in tons of foreign money, thinking that we can just pull out of a hat the massive manufacturing, the massive everything we need. And it's like, 8 million plates in the air to try to survive. And so I'm sorry it's not more, cheery, but it's just reality. And so let's get behind it, because the 2026 Venezuela bring down Smartmatic, show the world we're going to stop the steal. In 2026, we're getting states like Michigan asking for, please, please, please come in with the federal government to oversee the elections. All of this with Jocelyn Benson, she's super corrupt with the last election, trying to run for governor there in Michigan. Um, this is a battle, right, to fight here to the death, basically. And so when Trump is trying to get the Indiana crowd to have their, to do the redistricting, and they're refusing, this is who we're up against. And we got this one shot. So we're going to fight for it, because it is so important. All of this while Bin Salman is like, let's stop the Muslim Brotherhood. We don't, kind of Gaddafi-esque, we don't want, this, the Muslim Brotherhood jihadists to take over Western Europe. We don't want them to take over anymore. And we have to stop it. And that's what we're dealing with here in the US, with things like the North American Islamic Trust buying up all the real estate across the US, creating these compounds. Texas half fallen, okay, to jihadists. And this is what we're looking at, is the fight. And a huge part of this would be if Trump could declare the Muslim Brotherhood an international terrorist organization. It would massively help this effort, because all this money is coming through those same channels that reach back to Barack Obama, reach back to Hillary Clinton, reach back to George H.W., reach back, okay, into Prince Alawid, okay, who Bin Salman overthrew and now is reforming Saudi Arabia. So it's huge, it's massive, and it goes way past and beyond that. But I think that's where I'm going to leave it for today. I hope it explains a little bit of sort of the interconnectedness of all of these things. And tomorrow I'll be back with more. We'll dig into different aspects of this, plus the new news that keeps piling on at massive speed. So I hope that was informative. If it was, and you feel it gave you, I don't know, new perspective or new information, and you want to support the channel, there's ways to do so below, and I so appreciate it. Get on board monthly, help this channel keep going. Really fighting some, I must say things that are important, because I sure do get attacked. And then, of course, I will thank my fantastic sponsors, c60evo.com/YAFTV. Use the code YAFTV for 10% off. And this is, of course, the incredible ESS60 carbon-60 molecule made in the best lab in the world in Houston, Texas. American-made, incredible organic oils that are then packed with the purest carbon-60 that, are just, we're getting testimonials and facts coming in about its results to do with the big turbo C, nervous system disorders, migraines hugely. It gets into your mitochondria, okay? And what it does is it acts like it just grabs all the garbage, okay, out of your cells and flushes it out of the body. So it has multitudes of effects of all the garbage it gets out. So it helps with almost every, for entertainment purposes only, chronic illness that people deal with, because cellular health is health. And so they're doing huge sales, I believe, kicking in towards the holidays. I think for people who might be whales out there and have a bunch of cash, if you get 6 bottles, I believe 6 bottles or caps or 6 of products that qualify, and you'll see on the site below and in the description below, you get 50% off, which is quite amazing. So it's another way to stock up like we did earlier this fall. And anybody who contributes to the channel always gets 15% off and a different link and code sent to you. So check it out, c60evo.com. Check out, I love the capsules because I can stick them in my pocket, take them wherever I go. Just clears the brain fog, improves your mood. Like, these are the basic things. A transformation of inflammation reduction. Just incredible, incredible results, and you'll see them for yourself. So check it out below. And I also give away 2 bottles of this every month, randomly selected for people, the people who support the channel. Do a random selection. I'm able to give 2 bottles to 2 different wonderful supporters of You Are Free TV. So thanks so much for watching today. I hope you found this useful. We are free, okay? That's why we're here to fight. And we are literally chasing down the gates of hell here. We are. And it's up to us, right? And we've got God on our side, right? We put on our full armor and we ask for guidance, and we just keep going forward, because this is our time and this is our fight. And you were born for this time. So, don't take it for granted. You are free. And I'll see you next time.